All right, so here we go. You have the Indianapolis Colts at home at Lucas Oil Stadium taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Colts are looking to advance to 5-1 for the first time since 2009. Then you have the Cardinals 2-3 looking to bounce back after a rather embarrassing loss to the Tennessee Titans last week, up 21-6. Should have been, shoulda, woulda, coulda. The NFL, it is what it is. It's a game of inches. You know, you fumble into the end zone, touchback, and the game completely changes. You give the Titans all the momentum in the world, and then you had an interception late in that game to really put the game away. But then interceptions fumbled. It's like we're playing soccer, and you ultimately can't corral it, can't keep the turnover for yourself. You fumble it again, and the Titans somehow, some way find a way to score. And the Titans just had all the momentum in the world. It was a really weird game, really bizarre the way the Titans won. But at the end of the day, it's football. That's just how it goes, But if you're gonna fumble at the goal line like that, when you're getting ready to go up 28-6 to put the dagger in, to put the nail in the coffin, you do that. It's tough. It's tough. I couldn't imagine. I could feel for your Cardinals fans. I really could. But looking into this game here, you have quite a few injuries on the Cardinals side. Kyler Murray will not play. They're not going to have their punter Blake Gillikin. Then, to be honest, if Kyler Murray played in this game, I think the Cardinals would actually have a decent shot to upset the Indianapolis Colts in this one, to be honest with you. The Cardinals are just inconsistent. They're just having a hard time putting a full four quarters together. And I know they just lost to the Titans. I get that. People are going to be like, they just lost to the Titans. They're going to chance. But with Kyler Murray, I thought they did have a chance. I would have been a little worried because the Colts' run defense has not been spectacular. The Colts' defense in general is just kind of like bend but don't break. They've been getting a little fortunate here and there on opposing teams inflicting themselves. That's just kind of where the story has been for the Colts defense. But nonetheless, they're finding ways. They're 4-1. Their offense has been absolutely wonderful. But no Kyler Murray, no Blake Gillikin. No, he's questionable actually. I'm pretty sure he was downgraded to out though recently. You have cornerback Max Melton. He is questionable. Pretty disappointing because Max Melton has been playing pretty well so far to start this season. Both of the young cornerbacks have been playing wonderful. Zay Jones questionable, Cody Simon and Mac Wilson, and then out for the Cardinals is only Darius Robinson, who's a defensive tackle. Really hasn't played too well this year, regardless. But for the Colts, they only have two players out. That is running back Tyler Goodson and slot cornerback Kenny Moore. And no one else is really questionable. So the Colts are the much more healthy team, and they're the much more hot and just looking like the much better overall complete football team than the Cardinals at this point in the season. Like I was saying, if Kyler Murray was playing this game, I would be a little more concerned. But with Jacoby Brissett playing, familiar face for the Colts, Jacoby Brissett coming back to Lucas Oil Stadium, it's pretty cool. I've always liked Jacoby Brissett. But and I've always rooted for him, but not when it's against the Colts. That's when it changes. But let's go through some of the metrics for this game. Some little fun facts here. The Colts lead the series with 9 wins to the Cardinals 8 wins. Both teams had 2 wins each in the last 4 meetings. The last time these two teams faced off, it was Carson Wentz at quarterback for the Colts and Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals. It was that Christmas game. It was that pandemic year. Colts had practically their entire offensive line out, but JT had a big game. It was a magical game. The Colts are looking to have that same success in this game. But the Colts are first in the AFC South, while the Cardinals are last in the NFC West. Both divisions looking pretty interesting, but ultimately, the Colts. Let's start with the Colts. So the Colts offense has exceeded all expectations beyond belief. I mean, they have so many weapons to that they could hit you with. They all complement each other so well. And then I really truly believe that Tyler Warren is the number one target for Daniel Jones. And then you have Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield or rushing the football. Whatever the heck it is, the Cardinals are going to have to play the best defense that they've played all year long. And they've allowed a lot of yards. They haven't played good defense at times. It's just because they're so young. And this defense, this team in general has a potential to play really well at any time. It's just the issue. They can't stay consistent. But the Colts offense, they're second in scoring offense. They're fourth in yards per game, ninth in rushing yards per game, fourth in passing yards, and they're third and third down conversion percentage at 46.5%. So you see the Colts, they practically ranked top 10 in every major offensive category. And this like I was saying, this Cardinals defense is really going to have to show up in a big way. The Cardinals ideal is what you have to do with the Colts is you really have to make them uncomfortable in the late downs. You have to you have to force them into third and longs. That's where it seems like the Colts have struggled at times. I mean, any team is going to convert less often when it's 3rd and 7 or more. The Colts typically do get down to 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, and they have found ways to convert a lot of 3rd and longs. That's just the way the offense is built. It's a perfect situation for Daniel Jones, putting the ball where it needs to be on time. Shane Steichen doing a wonderful job drawing up plays. It's just that this offense is so complete. And the big thing is, how are these young cornerbacks going to fare against all the misdirection, all the creativity from Shane Steichen and the veteran presence of Daniel Jones, just knowing where to go with the football. And Max Melton might not even play this game. Max Melton had a good start. He was playing well. Will Johnson's still coming off of, I believe Will Johnson was dealing with the hamstring as well. But he will play. Will Johnson has been absolutely incredible to begin his career so far. So the Colts, I mean, they have the other receivers to step up. They're not limited to 1 or 2 guys. They have 3, 4, 5 guys that can make big time plays at any moment, which makes it really difficult to defend. And Titans wise, their defensive line hasn't really been too great. And the Colts offensive line is going to hammer home, and they're going to I think that this Cardinals defensive line is going to struggle all day against this Colts offensive line. They say that football games are won in the trenches, and the Cardinals are going to struggle to win in the trenches versus the Colts. Quentin Nelson up front, and just the way the Colts play offense, they play a very physical brand of football, and it feels like they have a perfect mix of like old school and modern put into their offense, and like modern offense. It feels like a perfect mix. They typically come out throwing the football a lot. So if the Colts can get up quick, and then pound the football, John Taylor, and get out of there, because you're going back to LA, going back to SoFi Stadium next week. So we'll see if the Colts can go ahead, get up early, and then pound the football and salt this thing away. But if Kyler Murray was playing, I would be, as a Colts fan, I would be much more worried about this game. I'm still a little wary. Like I was saying, if I could talk, like I was saying, the Cardinals are very, very inconsistent. If the Cardinals are able to put a full game together, this could be a very close football game. And if you give Jacoby Brissett a chance to win, he might do it. He might not. He's going to give you a chance, but facing Jacoby Brissett makes it a lot less daunting, to be honest with you, because the Colts defense has not been the same as the offense. So it's been very bend don't break, but it feels like they've been getting fortunate with playing lesser opponents, and there are a couple things that have gone their way in the red zone. Nonetheless, they are finding ways, but it's definitely worth to mention those things. But in the end, the Colts are 3rd in scoring defense. They're only allowing 17.8 points per game. But they're 14th in opponents' yards per game, 12th in opponents' rushing yards, and they're 9th in passing yards. The reason why I don't think it's worse is, well, you look at who they've played. You played the Titans, the Raiders, and you beat up on them pretty good, and you played good defense. You didn't allow too many points. Versus the Titans, I felt like a couple of things went our way in the Titans game, but still won 40-20. But the defense is definitely something to keep an eye on as the season goes along. We're going to be playing much more difficult competition as the year goes on. And I know we've had injury issues, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. This Colts defense has a lot of yards. They have struggled to open up games, especially. I mean, you look at the Raiders game. The Raiders pretty much drove down the field. I believe it was pretty much 2 drives. They pretty much drove down the field, ran the ball at will. They just kind of dinked and dunked their way down the field, and a couple mistakes just kind of really went the Colts way. But nonetheless, I mean, the defense is finding ways to get stops in the red zone, which is big. That's good, but versus some of the more difficult offenses you're going to play. We saw what the Broncos did. We saw what the Rams did. Now, the Colts defense did have some really good stretches versus those teams. First half, the Colts defense was pretty bad. The second half, this is versus the Broncos. It was not perfect, but it was much better. Made a major play down the stretch when it mattered most. Cam Bynum had the interception. The Rams, the defense gave the offense enough chances to do what they needed to do. The offense just couldn't capitalize. So the Colts defense feels like it's good enough. And the run defense especially has been really bad. But good news for the Colts is the Cardinals cannot really run the football too well. And especially with Kyler Murray out, that pretty much eliminates it. I mean, it doesn't. That back last week had a decent game. I'm blanking on his name. I can't bring his name up because I know Benson and Connor are both on IR. But that kid stepped up, and he had a pretty good game. He had a couple big runs. So, you can't just look at it and be like, hey, it's nothing. You got to watch out. But I think this is a chance for the Colts rushing defense to finally step up and show us, even though it's not a great rushing attack, especially with Kyler Murray out. I feel like that the Colts, you can gain some confidence, you gain some steam against the run game because, even versus Ashton Genty, that's another thing. We practically took the run game away from other teams. When you're scoring as much as you are and you're putting that much pressure on opposing offenses, they tend to sometimes lead away from the run, just pass. The Colts passing defense is opportunistic. And playing Jacoby Brissett, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good trait to have when playing Jacoby Brissett because Jacoby Brissett, he's very, he's going to check down a lot. He's not really going to turn the ball over. He's going to keep the Cardinals in the game. They're going to be tricky. They're going to be annoying. But, I think the Colts are eventually going to pull away in this game. I think the defense is going to make a couple big plays, or I just don't think Jacoby Brissett is going to be able to keep up with this Colts offense. Marvin Harrison Jr., how is he going to show up? Not sure, but I mean, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. I actually think he's going to benefit more from having Jacoby Brissett than Kyler Murray. It just doesn't feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray are really cohesive. Doesn't seem like they're really working well together. So I think this could be a plus for Marvin Harrison Jr. with having more consistency, but he just got to hold on to the football. He just got to play better football. If Marvin Harrison Jr. can put a full game together, a little big game. But how he's going to do against Charvarius Ward, that's going to be a big matchup to look for in this game. To look to is Marvin Harrison Jr. and Charvarius Ward. And everyone else is, Zay Jones is questionable if he plays. He's not going to be full 100%. And other than the tripping Mekhi Blackman, they're two horrible plays that a lot of big time touchdowns. Mekhi Blackman has been a good corner other than those couple of plays. He's been decent, but now you have Mike Hilton on IR, so maybe the Colts can't. I mean, Ward can play slot, he could play anywhere, but he's definitely who you want on Marvin Harrison Jr. You want him shadowing him all game long. I'm not really too confident anybody else really covering him confidently because Marvin Harrison Jr. can kill you. It's just the fact of him getting out of his own way. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about the Jacoby Brissett-led Cardinals offense. I would be much more worried if it was Kyler Murray. Even though Kyler Murray is inconsistent, he hasn't played well himself. It's just the running ability, the running factor, and the Colts have not been that good against the run. You could kind of say that's because of linebacker play. We have a good interior. We have guys that are good against the run on the defensive line. The linebacker presence really makes a big difference in that aspect. When the Colts had Shaq Leonard, with Zaire Franklin and even, Anthony Walker's back with the team now, but I just don't think he fits into Lou's system. Now you have Jermaine Pratt, though, so you do have an extra face in there. I think Jermaine Pratt was a good pickup. Anything's better than what we were having because, it just wasn't working out. You had Zaire. Joe Bacci was just making too many stupid mistakes. He had so many ridiculous penalties. So Jermaine Pratt, he's going to come in. He's familiar with Lou Anarumo as well. So and he's a playmaker. So I think him and Zaire Franklin, they're both loudmouths, but I kind of like that in a linebacker room where you kind of have to be a little chippy. Just hope it doesn't, it won't spread throughout the locker room. That's the point. The strong locker room, the culture Chris Ballard's built. It's very difficult to screw it up. For it to always be messed up. But for one player or two even to ruin what they got going. But the Colts defense, I think they're gonna have a good enough day. Are they gonna shut the Cardinals out? Probably not. But I mean, there's not that on this offense that really worries me. Let's see how the Colts defensive line gets at it, because the Colts defensive line, the interior has been good. In terms of pass rush, I'm talking about. The pass rush has been good. Could the pass rush get after this Cardinals offense line? Paris Johnson is their best offense lineman by far. The other guys, they're good. They do their job. They're not like out of this world. They don't. They're like very average. So we're gonna see how this Colts defensive line could attack this Cardinals defense front or offensive line front. Could you? I think Lou's going to keep doing these stunts, which is going to screw him up, going to give them a long day, blitzes, give them all those crazy looks. And I think that, and to be quite honest with you, I think that's going to give Jacoby Brissett a lot of fits. Just the disguises, the last-minute changes, that's going to give Jacoby Brissett a lot of fits. And so this Colts defense should have a big day once again. Shutout worthy, 6 points only worthy, no touchdowns worthy, I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope, if they have Ward follow Harrison around. Oh, Trey McBride. Trey McBride almost got out without talking about the Cardinals without Trey McBride. That's my biggest worry. I'm worried that Trey McBride will take this game over. Our linebackers have not been the best this year, as I was just talking about. You did bring in Jermaine Pratt. I think he's decent. He'll be a decent cover guy. But it's Trey McBride. He's one of the best tight ends in the league. It seems like it's him and Warren this year so far. So the battle of the tight ends, who's going to have the better day of, the titan of, the titan of the tight ends, the titan battle of those two. But that's what I worry about. If the Colts can not let Marvin Harrison, make crazy plays, just play good defense on him, easier said than done, and then just limit Trey McBride, the Colts should pretty much limit this Cardinals offense to not too much. And then the Cardinals defense, though, and the Colts offense, this Cardinals defense is sneaky. Looking at these, at where they're ranked, they're scoring, their defense is 21st in yards allowed per game. They're 8th versus the run, so that's something to monitor. But they're 28th in passing yards allowed. So is Daniel Jones going to be in for for another insane game? Quite possibly, because that room is young. That Cardinals secondary is very young. I'm not worried about their defensive line. As for watching the Colts, there's not many defensive lines that really make you worry too much or make you think too much about, because the Colts defense or the Colts offensive line has been incredible. The only line they really struggled with was the Rams, but the Rams have like insane talent at all 4 spots, and then they have good linebackers too. They just have a really good defense in general. But the Cardinals' defense is sneaky. Budda Baker in the back end. He has not played too well this year, Budda Baker, I don't think. But the Cardinals' defense is sneaky, and you have to watch out. Calais Campbell's in the middle there. He could take over games. Doesn't matter how old that guy gets. He's going to sniff out screens. The Colts like to call a lot of screens, and so Calais Campbell will be trying to sniff those out. But it's just that this Cardinals' young secondary, they're inconsistent. That's this entire Cardinals team. If the Cardinals put together a full game here, I'm going to be worried. But that's the problem. They can't put a full game together. But if they do, they're going to give the Colts a fight all the way till the very end. That's why the Colts are favored by 9.5 points. Over under is 46.5. I'm not touching it because the Cardinals are a scrappy team. They're going to fight. They may come back in the end like they versus the Seahawks. You got to watch this Cardinals team. They're sneaky. If you don't put them away, they're going to come back on you. And they're going to give you some fits. they're gonna fight and claw their way back into it. But their defense, don't get fooled. Their defense can make plays. They're playmakers. Will Johnson's been great. Max Melton's questionable. We'll see if he plays. But nonetheless, the defense is a little better than you think. But the Colts offense is just so well-rounded. That's my thing. The Colts offense is just so well-rounded. And you do have Jonathan Gannon. That's something to take into consideration. But he has not been doing a too good job as inconsistent, penalties, But, yeah, the defense is just something to monitor for the Cardinals. It's something, don't just look at this Cardinals team and like, hey, they're trash, because they're not. They're like, it's just consistency. That's the thing. That's the thing I keep coming back to with the Cardinals. If they can stay consistent, it'll be scary. The defense is better than what it looks like, in the rankings or the numbers. It's much better than it looks like. But their offense hasn't been too swell either. I mean, 23rd scoring offense, 26 yards per game, 13 rushing yards per game. They're 31st in passing offense, and that's what Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett, is definitely a downgrade. And then they have their down conversion rate of 39.7%, which is good for 17th in the NFL. So the Colts are a very, very well-rounded team. A couple storylines to continue to look out for in this game is Jonathan Gannon going up against the Colts once again. You have Jacoby Brissett playing the Colts. Shavarius Ward against Marvin Harrison Jr., and how could these Colts linebackers cover Trey McBride? Other than that, and the offense has to take care of the football. Like I was saying, this is a pretty opportunistic Cardinals defense. They're going to take the ball away if they get the chance to. So don't put the ball in harm's way. You have a good offensive line. Run JT. Even though the Colts have come out, they've been passing to start games, which has been nice. And then second half, they just pound the frick out of the football. That's what they've been doing. But give me Colts. I'm positive in the Colts winning this football game. I think the Colts advance to 5-1, and the Cardinals, after their 2-0 start, drop to 2-4. I just don't see. If Kyler Murray was playing, this would be more difficult to predict. I would be worried about the Cardinals, and I think that there would be legitimate reasons to think there's an upset. I don't care if they lost to the Titans. The Cardinals are a talented football team. They just can't put it all together consistently. There we go, consistency again. But give me the Colts. Very confident in the Colts. Daniel Jones has been taking care of the football, playing lights out at an MVP level, to say it that. JT's been playing his game. And you have too many weapons. I just think there's too many weapons for the Cardinals defense to keep track of, and that's what makes this Colts offense so good. And then they're going to run the football, to win the football game, to salt it away. I just think the Colts get out too quick, and then the Cardinals have, even their running game right now. I think it's gonna. I don't really think it's gonna be that great this weekend. It's not really that great in general, especially being down a couple starters. You're on your third string running back. Just injuries have hit you there. Injury riddled everywhere too. They have quite a few injuries, but Colts are pretty much healthy. Just a more well-rounded football team, better coached. I think they're gonna get out. I think they're just gonna, like I just said, I think they're gonna get up early, and then they're gonna salt it away with John Taylor, just like they've been doing. I don't necessarily think that this game will be a blowout. I think the Cardinals are gonna keep it close to the first half, and then I think the Colts are gonna pull away and then salt it away. So that's all I got for me. Thank you guys for tuning in to the JW Sports Network. This is a Colts and Cardinals preview. Cardinals looking to snap their 3-game losing streak, get back to 500. And the Colts are looking to have their first 5-1 start since 2009. Last time they made the Super Bowls and played the New Orleans Saints. So this is Jason. I had a blast talking some Colts, Cardinals football. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.